So welcome, Wendy, to another Money Moves. Welcome, everybody. Glad to have you here today. We got an exciting topic for you today. Wendy, I'll start with the never-ending question. I guess, how was your weekend?
It was good. Good.
Good
Not a
deal.
bad
Labor Day
weekend.
weekend?
Yeah, a little bit of family stuff happening, but even in sad times, it's kind of cool that family can come together
Yeah,
and
yeah.
celebrate
It's
together.
you kind of always look for that rainbow, right, or that
Mhm.
silver lining in the dark
Yeah.
clouds. So anyway, but yeah, it's a good weekend. A little rainy, but not a big deal. So we are talking about some exciting stuff today. Um, Obviously, the economy is changing and things like that, and people are getting a little nervous about things. So what we're going to talk about today is having a scarcity mindset versus an abundant mindset,
Mhm.
and how that can really impact you not only today, but a year from now, 5 years from now, 20 years from now, what that all means. And so do me a favor, reach out to some friends and family and say, hey, guess what? Money Moves is back, and they're going to be talking about mindset and how a positive mindset and a mindset of abundance can actually turn into super success for you in your future. So we'll get started in just a few seconds. So I don't know about you. I used to back when I was in the W-2 world and things like that, Wendy, things get tight, you start
Mhm.
contracting and pulling in, and you start thinking, the sky's falling, whatever you want, right? And it
Mhm.
seems like it snowballs, and there's a lot of things out there on power of positive thinking, right?
Mhm.
I didn't really know what all that meant until I became an entrepreneur and started getting around other entrepreneurs and really started to learn about, that scarcity mindset versus the mindset of abundance. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
sure you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even just in starting businesses, right?
Mhm.
Like you have to, I always say, like being an entrepreneur is personal development with comp plan attached, right? We get paid to grow in our mind and our thoughts. Um, and one of the first, things that I was ever taught and really like internalized is what you focus on is expands, right?
Mhm.
So are we focusing on the negative, the hard things out of our control, right?
Yeah.
Fears, or are we focusing on growth and learning and opportunity, right? And what we choose, and we choose it different in different situations, but if we can start to choose that abundant thinking and looking at the good things, the positive, the opportunity, it can change our whole life.
Yeah, yeah. One of my first exposures to this, and I'm probably going to trigger some people, was the what was it called? The Secret, right?
Mm-hmm.
There was a book that came out, and it's, oh, it's a great self-help book and things like that, and it talks about the law of attraction and kind of what you do, what you focus on, kind of expands and things like
Mm-hmm.
that. And I thought it was mystic, feel good puffery, and I'll just put it
Yeah.
out there like that. I mean, 'cause, it's like, okay, I'm gonna be sit in my misery here, and all of a sudden think good thoughts and things are gonna happen to me. And there's a lot more to it. Don't get me wrong, but that was kind of my first exposure to it. And then I really started talking to some other entrepreneurs. And you're right. I mean, it's one of those things that if I'm focused on woe is me and everything's against me and things like that, all of a sudden you start looking for that, right? And it's
Mm-hmm.
at a subconscious level, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And that can really start to impact you, and it really seems as though everything's coming against you.
Right.
And one of the first things I learned was, um and this seems like a little black or white, but when I would have something bad to me, there's only two ways you can react to anything out there: positive or negative.
Right. Right.
And whenever I have a negative experience, I would always ask myself, what can I learn from this? And that really
Yep.
stopped that downward spiral.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, and then you hear the whole failing forward. What does that even mean? Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, failure is a part of the learning process.
Right.
Right? That's, Thomas Edison, when he was asked about the light bulb, right? He's like, well, you failed so many times. What kept you going through? He's like, I don't look at it as I failed. I learned of another way not to do the light bulb.
Right.
Right. I mean,
Yep.
I'm kind of paraphrasing there, but and that really that mindset can take you a long way in life, of having that,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not just talking about your personal growth, but I'm talking about your health, your business, everything, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I did not watch or read The Secret. I don't know if it's a book or a movie. I think a movie.
Well,
I did not. And I'm not a big woo woo manifestation person. But I do see the parallels of, what kind of the world teaches and what the Word of God, I always go back to the Word of God teaches.
Yeah.
And the Bible says you reap what you sow. And I don't think you reaping is just actions. I think it's thoughts. And thought patterns too. I think it's, attitudes. You reap what you sow, right? Like what you plant is what you grow and multiply. And so, so there's that truth vein in all of it, right? That the actions we take, the things we think, what we focus on, the attitudes we bring, all of that multiplies. And, it's so interesting to me I think you and I have seen a lot of scarcity mindset lately. And things going on in the economy, people's businesses may be going a little bit backwards. I've made this mistake. This is part of why I'm so passionate about what we do is I would always, the more I made, the more I spent, right? I never had a plan for my money. And I see so many people get in this pattern of scarcity that they are not willing to make the change, even though all the things they've done to this point have got them to where they are. Yeah. They're not willing to make the change for the future out of fear and scarcity and thinking I'm not going to have enough. One big thing for me is I remember it was a year ago, I think October or September. It was a year ago, September. I went back and looked at my documents that I started putting money away for my retirement. And I, at that time, did not feel like I was capable of doing it, the amount that we set. And you challenged me to do it and let it be the first thing, pay yourself first. And I started putting that away. And it's literally, I get my big paycheck for network marketing comes on around the 15th. So it comes out the 16th. And it is what it is. Right. And, and I want to challenge people that do make their own money, right. Or in either network marketing or have their own business or, sales, even if you have a commission job, anyone that has just more than a, set stream of income, I would challenge you to go, instead of feeling like, this is going to cut into my budget, right? To change the way you look at things. For me, I was like, this is me investing in my future self. Yeah. Right. This is me changing the behaviors and the money that I put aside for that. I can get back and I can get back tenfold. Right. And I think about this all the time with money. I don't know why, because it's like women, we go to Target, maybe guys do this too. You guys, it might be Lowe's, right? Maybe for you it's Lowe's, John, but you go in for something that's, you're like, I'm going to spend $50. I just need one thing, like me going into Target. I just need blah, blah, blah. And then you get there and you start filling your cart with all the stuff you think you need or you want. And then in your mind, you're in the short term thinking, right? You justify what you're going to spend. You go to check out and instead of 50, it's 250. And you're like, $200. Oh, well. And you have an abundance mindset because you're like, I can cut somewhere else to make up for that, fit it in my budget, or I'm going to make more money to be able, so that doesn't hurt. Yeah. Yet when it comes to planning for your future, people don't feel like they get stuck and they can't handle $200, right? Yeah. And so I don't know. It's just it's changing the way you look at things.
Well, and it goes back to what you were just saying, right? It takes more than action, going back to that law of attraction, that mindset, right? And, going back to the people that are, followers of The Secret and stuff like that, it's not just positive thinking, law of attraction, the last 6 letters are action, right? You've got to take that action. And that's really where putting a plan in place, right? Kind of figuring out, okay, what am I trying to do? And like you said, so many people have that abundant mindset on the short term. Right. Like, man, I'm in a good mood. I got a great night's sleep last night. Boom. It's Friday or Tuesday or, whatever the, or the weekend, right? I don't think people really go out on Tuesday, but, they go out for the weekend. It's like, yeah, we'll go and spend XYZ money. But when it actually comes to something, and a lot of people look at their, putting away for their future or investing and things like that as an expense, right? Because you don't get that instant gratification. And I'm here to tell you folks, that is not an expense. An expense is you going to Target or going to Lowe's, things like that, and buying something that you was a spur of the moment thing. And we've got other videos on how to kind of hack into that, component of your life too, to avoid that. But looking at that whole mindset of I'm keeping it positive and I'm focusing on growth, right? I'm not looking at just short term. I'm also looking at long term and feeling good about, paying off my debt, right? We teach people how to do the debt snowball to get out of debt relatively quickly, and knowing that they have this chart to follow every month through the end of their debt, right?
Right.
Same way with retirement, or building wealth, not just retirement, but building wealth in life. Looking at, okay, hey, I'm putting this away, and all of a sudden I see my emergency fund growing. I see my accounts growing and things like that. I see my net worth growing.
Yeah.
And focusing on that, looking at, and I always challenge people to ask themselves, does what I'm doing today move me closer or further away to my financial goals? Right. That's what we're dealing with, money moves here, financial goals. Right. But so many people get lost in it. And all of a sudden, one little thing happens. Oh, I can't afford this, that, or the other. But yet they don't prioritize and pay yourself first. Right. That's one of the things that we teach as well, is pay yourself first. If you don't know what that is, type pay yourself first in the comments below, and we'll reach out to you and let you know what that's all about too. But looking at that piece of it, that am I building an empire or am I just buying stuff?
Right.
And
it's looking at things differently between an expense and investment.
Yeah.
In any area of your life, right? They're two different things, and it's our minds have to differentiate that. I think sometimes a lot of people we talk to, they put it all together.
They do, because it's money coming out of their pocket. It's like, oh, okay, well, I've already, bought my cars or whatever the case may be. I've got those payments. I can't afford to do anything else. And that's one of the things too, I hear that a lot. And I know I grew up a poor kid, right? I'm not sure what your history was, but I grew up, we were not wealthy people at all. Right. And so, one of the things I kept hearing in my life, I can't afford it. I can't afford it. And I've struggled with that as I've come into my career, and, I make great income now, but it's still in the back of my head of, oh, I can't afford it. I can't afford it. And middle class also has that monthly payment mindset. We don't look at what is that car cost or what is that computer cost. What do we ask? How much is it each month? Right. And so I can afford this each month, this, that, or the other. And so when we have an expense like an investment or something like that, quote unquote expense, we look at it the same way, and that is not it at all.
Right.
Again, it goes back to that mindset of, I didn't have it then, I want it now. And so we're trying to reward ourselves, but we're just repeating that cycle. And our kids are going to end up going into the same financial struggles that we are going through right now that we hate, because we're not taking action and changing that mindset. So,
right. And I heard this a couple of months ago, and I thought it was powerful, and I won't go deep into it, but like what your situation right now, the house you're in, the car you drive, your physical state of your body, right? Your health, all of that is the physical result of something you did before, right? Like you didn't go, oh, I just made $30,000 today, I'm going to buy a car, or, oh, I'm skinny today because I thought it and decided today I want to be skinny, right? Like the result, the physical result comes down the road. And so it's important to think today, what physical result, what do you want your life to actually look like, right? We talk about vision, and the word of God says without a vision, the people perish, right? Because if you're not looking ahead and what you want in the future and taking the actions today, it doesn't ever manifest. It doesn't ever become in the physical, right? It starts with your mind and a decision, right? My favorite line, that quoting myself, life change starts with a made up mind. Like that. People ask me, how did you go from, barely making ends meet in my life to, building businesses? Life change starts with a made up mind. I made a decision. It all started here with a decision, right? Yeah. And the end result is what you see in the physical. And I want to challenge anyone watching, like, to start doing, make up your mind and start taking the actions today to give you the life you want 5 and 10 years down the road. Because I guarantee most people watching, if I say, where did you want to be like 5 years ago, right? In 1920, whatever. No, 20. Oh, whatever. I don't even know the years. 2000. I'm thinking 19.
Well, that was more than 5 years ago, but
2017, right? Where did you think you'd be right now? And are you there?
Yeah.
Most people will say no.
Yeah. And I challenge a lot of people with that too, especially when looking at your career. I mean, you go back to when you were young and things like that, and you had the whole world in front of you. You were going to do some great things. Well, eventually what happens is we start compromising our goals, compromising our dreams, right? Well, I'm going to make some money first, and I'll get back to that. Well, then I meet somebody, and then I start having kids, right? And then the next thing you know, you look up and you're 50 going, what the hell happened?
Mhm.
Well, number one, if you are younger, change that mindset now and start focusing on your goals. And number two, if you're older, it's never too late, right?
Mhm.
And going back to what you said, and I love that concept. It does start in the mind, and the mind is the fertile ground of your future. Okay, and so you've got to plant the positive seeds to make that happen, and you've got to keep nurturing it in a positive light. I mean, the stuff you put in your music, you listen to, the people you listen to, this, everything you see, hear, and listen. If you're in a situation where you're hanging around a bad circle of people or things like that, you're putting all that poison into your mind, into your fertile ground, so to speak, and you're not going to get anything out of it, that's worth much, right? Until you start changing it and change that what you're putting into that ground, those seeds of, this is where I want to be in a year, this is where I want to be in a month. And it doesn't have to be grand changes, right? It can be small little steps that add up over time. But that positive mindset and challenging yourself, that when you get cut off in traffic, right? I used to get so upset about that. I'm like, oh man, get road rage. I never got out and got crazy or anything like that. But you look at the things of, hey, they must be in a hurry. They're in a bigger hurry than I am. It's freeing to you, and I've heard people say, don't give people free rent in your head. Right. And just having that positive outlook on life and on your life. And it takes some time. It takes some time. I remember one of my coaches used to talk about the downward spiral. Something bad would happen and it would lead to something else. And I would say something else to myself. And it was just like this negativity. And now I stopped right in the gate, right when something happens, I stop, say, oh, okay, just like the car cut off, right? Oh yeah, they must be in a bigger hurry than I am. And then poof, it's gone. It doesn't have any power because I'm working on that mindset. And that's what I'm challenging each of you, just like Wendy, to do, is focus on a mindset of abundance, right? There is so much money to be made out there. There is so much opportunity out there for you and your family. There are so many ways that you can build wealth for you and your family. It's just a matter of surrounding yourself with people who can teach you, right, and show you the path, and then having that daily mindset. I'm just going to do a little bit each day. I don't have to have touchdowns every play, but I need to move the ball down the field a little bit further. That's it. And, when the obstacles do come in life, don't let it affect you, and realize that, that's just a little bump in the road. I've learned one more way not to do something, but let's keep moving forward. So
absolutely.
Yeah, that's all I've got, Wendy. I don't know if you got anything to add on that.
Nope. Mic drop.
Yep. Mic drop. There we go. So everybody, hopefully you got some message out of this, and hopefully it helped you. And if you're going through some challenges right now, this too shall pass, and remind yourself of that. You've heard the term, it's always darkest before dawn. And I'm a firm believer in that. And never make a decision when you're, down and out, but sleep on it, make a positive impact the next day, and make the conscious decision. No, this is not who I am. I'm going to make a positive move forward and do it. Do us a favor, though, while you're at that, click that little subscribe button down below. Share this. We're trying to get the message out and help people, improve their lives, get a better life, right? And we've got some exciting stuff coming around the corner. I think next week we're going to be talking about small businesses. So if you know a small business owner, an entrepreneur, make sure you share this page with them. Show some love, watch, learn, listen, and subscribe, right? But everybody have a great week. And Wendy, I will see you next week on Money Moves.
Bye-bye.